All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Afternoon Bell. Happy Memorial Day. My name is Ellen Desmond, and I work in the Bureau of Student Wellness at the New Hampshire Department of Education. Our team has been joining you via YouTube Live on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays for the Afternoon Bell at 3 p.m., which has been our opportunity to discuss issues with community partners, provide support to New Hampshire educators and New Hampshire families as NH learns remotely. It's hard to believe that we've been doing this for going on, I think, 9 weeks or something like that. So you can find all of those live broadcasts as well as all those previously recorded sessions that we've been doing for the past 2 or so months on our YouTube channel, which is NH Student Wellness. And we encourage you to follow us on Twitter at NH Schools and on Facebook at NH Student Wellness, where you can also find our live morning coffee chats weekdays at 9 a.m. and a host of other resources. And the department is also updating our remote learning website, which is nhlearnsremotely.com. So check that out for information about remote instruction and support. And if you're tuning in live right now, and even if you're not, if you're watching this at a later date and you want to connect with us, please feel free to leave questions or comments in the chat box, and we will make sure to connect with you either during the presentation or offline. So our session today is a mental health checkup. We are here with Shamera Simpson and Lisa Riley from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention for our last formal Afternoon Bell session in May for Mental Health Awareness Month. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you for joining us.
Happy Memorial Day.
Yeah, thanks for having us back. I can't believe this is the 5th week. It went by so quickly.
Oh, I know. I agree. Well, thanks for joining us. It's been a really wonderful partnership, and I know it's just the beginning of a lot more collaboration. But
For sure. No, we appreciate it. We appreciate the partnership.
Yeah, we've been having fun. We just, thought we'd take today to hopefully hear from some of you out there on, really what you've been doing this month in May to support your mental health, to support self-care strategies for your children, your students, as some of you continue with this remote learning. We have been sharing with each other a little bit some of the fun things we've been doing for self-care. I was just telling Ellen a little bit ago that our family has really discovered this whole TikTok phenomenon, which the kids understand and appreciate. They've been using it for a long time, but there are so many cute, fun, clever things that you can do, these short videos with your kids on TikTok. I'm sure that you guys are all seeing them on Facebook, but we've done some where we do, like, the whole family does like a little dance, like a dance, right? This choreographed dance, which is hilarious. And if you haven't seen TikTok, there are some they're pre-set up questions. So you line your kids up and then it asks questions like which one is more likely to get in trouble, which one is more likely to be a CEO. And so you point and, they're really funny questions. And then it happens in reverse too. So we have 4 teenagers in our house. So as you can imagine, that's been pretty fun. And it's really helped us out a lot in supporting each other's mental health, because we definitely, not unlike other households, we've had a lot of ups and downs the last 2 months.
Yeah. What's been really interesting for me is to wonder, and this is kind of funny and, certainly intuitive to some level, but to wonder what other people are thinking and feeling when I don't necessarily have contact with them. And what I mean by that is, I know how my family is dealing with the last 8 to 10 weeks, and how blessed my family is because everyone's working. We have the benefit of having remote ability to work. But what's happening where that's not the case, and how do we reach people? And it can be as simple as just reaching out with a phone call. And what came to mind earlier was the church where we're members. The pastor had a great idea, and she developed a phone tree, and everybody she assigned via email, 4 names on the tree, and your responsibility for the week was just to call and say, hey, hey, Shamera, how are you? What's going on? What's going on with the kids? How, what what are you doing? Are you hanging out? Are you still working? And just that simple engagement. And it doesn't feel like it weighs a lot or it's that important. And yet I think the reality is that that's as simple and as primal as it can be. And that checking in is kind of really what we've been talking about all month. Just, reaching out and asking and being almost afraid, oh God, I hope they're okay. What if I can't help them? But even in just the conversation that I think both sides feel better, But I thought it was a great idea, just kind of that calling people who wouldn't otherwise be checked on and making a concerted effort to reach out,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're getting at, I like the idea of like something primal, right? Like we do need that connection. We know that we're wired for that, and how easy it is to, literally just pick up the phone and have some kind of accountability for that as well. I think it sounds like, your church was able to do that. And I love that idea, because then it gives you a purpose, right? Like there's something even good for your own mental health, even if you just end up leaving a voicemail or something, you're like, okay, but this is good. Like I had a purpose today.
Exactly.
And I checked in on that person and, they heard my voice or whatever.
And
there's value for us in that too, as well as the recipient of the.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that are really uptight like me and have to keep lists, I just check it off that I did it. If I left a message, I checked it off. And I'm like, whew, I did a lot today. I mean, I did. I mowed the lawn and I did that. I made a call.
I think that personal connection is so important right now. And so last week I sent a bunch of handwritten postcards out. We have these postcards that we made and they say hope on them. So I wrote postcards to some of like my daughter's friends, my grandmother, some of my high school friends. And I just wrote a little note and used the word hope in there. And I know that when some of them received those handwritten postcards, it really made them feel special. I mean, it really gave them, kind of a jolt for their day. And some of them called me, and then that, really sparked us to have a conversation and get on the phone together when some of these people honestly haven't spoken to in 2 months since all of this started. So I think those little things that we can do to connect outside of our house and connect with others is so important. And there are fun ways we can do it, right? I don't love to talk on the phone. That's not how I want to do it. But
I loved my card, by the way. I didn't call you and say thank you, but I got it and it said hope on it. And I was like, it's funny that I got a card. I mean, you and I work together doing this all the time. And to be honest with you, that really emphasizes the fact that we need to take care of each other. And that you take care of me every day, Shamera, with the way you think. And I thought, oh my God, I didn't do anything for Shamera. I haven't sent her anything but questions and concerns or whatever we're working on. But I thought I received it very well. I was thrilled. I was. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that there's been this resurgence of kind of those, old fashioned, it pains me to say that. Yeah. I grew up writing notes and making phone calls. And I'm not that old yet, but really like, I think, yes, we have employed so much cool technology during this time period as well, but we've also kind of gone back to basics and, writing a handwritten note or actually picking up the phone, and not just texting which is also great. But I certainly have seen a resurgence of that and that's pretty exciting. It's nice to see that, some of the more lost arts, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know in my house, it's an effort again to make sure that your phone list, who you call and who you're checking in on, but also in terms of my family, extended family outside of the area, and making sure that I, talk to my aunt who I usually talk to every couple months. Now I'm calling every week, and not because she needs anything or she and my uncle are fine, but I don't know. I think, Ellen, you really, this idea of kind of stepping back 10 steps maybe, and maybe, I don't know, maybe looking at things a little differently. I mean, we're forced to in a certain way because of restrictions and concerns about health and whatnot. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. What's happening maybe as an offshoot of not even fear, but concern and public health awareness, and staying in so people don't get sick. But reaching out to family on a more regular basis in a more a meaningful way is a good thing. There's a blessing there,
Absolutely. I have a core group of college friends, and we've been out of school for more than a decade, and we like to connect via text and things like that throughout the year, but this has forced us to set up a bi-weekly phone call. So we have a Zoom session every Saturday, and it's been wonderful. And we had this moment a few weeks ago and we were like, why have we not been doing this before?
Exactly.
There was nothing that precluded us from doing this. And, we always had excuses or things, maybe we got together once or twice a year in person, but why couldn't we have done this like in the in-between times? Right. And so it's really nice. I think that's been super helpful to have. Well, I mean, it's been wonderful just to reconnect with them on a more regular basis, but also just having that built into my routine. So I know that I have something to look forward to on the weekend. That's been really helpful for my own mental health, because I am such a culture or a creature of habit. I like that kind of, reliable routine kind of thing. So having that be a little wishy-washy, working from home, that's been challenging for me. So I've appreciated having those little checkpoints that are more reliable in your schedule.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love asking people what they're doing to support their mental health, not just this month, but in general. And, what are your self-care tips during this, this strange time of disconnection? And I love that, the most common answer is, the people that they will have a drink of wine. But I love, like some of the other things, like some people, are doing fun things like like we were just talking earlier, just to share with everybody out there, there's this app called the Talking Dog, the Talking Dog app. You take a picture of your pet and then you can create something that they're saying. So then the dog's mouth moves. I think it's such a fun way to just be laughing. Yeah. And if you're doing it with your spouse or your partner or your kids, then, you kind of have some engagement too. And I think there are probably a lot of apps out there that we don't know about, but that are so, it's just so fun for taking care of yourself right now. I know a lot of my friends are taking videos with their kids right now. This is a way that they're supporting each other and spending time together. And I think, it's important that we're keeping our kids active right now too. We are experiencing some anxiety from all of this and have to take care of ourselves, but we got to take care of the kids too. And having these fun ways to interact with them, whether it's an app or doing a workout video or getting out and doing some gardening together. It's an unfortunate situation that we're in, but also gives us an opportunity to really have some more creative ways to engage with our kids and have these moments with them. They're going to remember the pandemic when they're older, and they'll remember that, the flowers that they planted with their mother during that time, or the fun, crazy things that they did with their phones and their videos.
Yeah. For sure.
I love that. I
think it's also a great opportunity for all of us, but kids especially, to just start exploring and developing new hobbies. I know a lot of parents have said to us, like in the in-between times when they're not doing homework, like, I don't know what to do with them. Yeah. And that's a huge challenge. How do you keep a kid occupied, for all of their waking hours when you're used to just having a few hours maybe at night, between school and homework and extracurriculars. And now they have this massive gap of time to fill. And I think some parents have gotten really creative and just let their kids explore a lot, doing research on things that matter to them. Yeah. Luckily, there are a lot of libraries that are doing like book bags and, things like that. And being able to log onto the computer and just dive into some topics that are really interesting for kids. And that's ultimately what we want for education, right? We want them to be internally motivated to go pursue learning. in and outside of a school building. So I think that's been cool to hear about kids who have just done really neat things during this time, just because of their own passions. There's a great podcast that I really love called Social Distance Assistance, and it's a podcaster and her daughter. And her daughter's just gotten really into podcasting. And so they produced this show together, and it's so sweet. If I had a daughter, I would totally make her do it with me. It's adorable. And she's really good. I think she's in second grade. And, yeah, but it's great. It's helpful. It's got some great tips. They have some awesome, interviews. But what a cool passion to share with your child. Like, I think even like the TikTok videos, right? They're sharing kind of part of their culture and their world, and you're doing that as a family. So that's really cool to see, for sure.
Yeah, that's neat. I have a sense, and certainly I'm certain you could speak to this, Ellen, is this idea of kids that are fearful of what's happening. And whether adults are not explaining it well enough, or even adults who are afraid, and the fear is very contagious, and anxiety is very contagious. I was a very anxious kid who was very sensitive to that. And I wonder and worry for our young people. And I know my young nieces are doing really well despite being at home, and have been able to keep up on their studies. And the youngest is very sensitive, like kind of I was, and has expressed some concern. What if we never go back to school? What if we never go? And and the reality is, as an older person trying to live in the moment, and we've always been very purposefully be in the moment that you can control, and yet we need to have some grasp on what it looks like moving forward. And that's been very difficult to navigate with her. How do you tell her don't worry? And the reality is, I don't know what to tell her.
Right. That uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think too, I totally agree with you. I have heard that from a lot of people. How do you calm your kids down when you yourself are feeling really unsure and anxious? And that's such a key thing that we need to keep in mind, that, adults need support in order to support students too, to support their kids. I think there absolutely is something to taking it one day at a time. I really love that mantra. And I think it's true, especially in times like these, that things change every day. Yeah. And we really can't know what the future holds. And so being able to, wake up in the morning and say, what's the one task I know I have to get done today? What's one thing I want to do for myself today? What's one thing I can do for the world today? And just try to accomplish what we can in that time period without looking too far ahead. Lisa, like you, was a super anxious kid. I still am a super anxious big kid. I tend to perseverate on things that, aren't easily explained, or aren't particularly obvious to me. So I totally understand that. And the way that I have gotten through that, I think, is trying to see this time as an opportunity. I have really tried to ground myself in gratitude and just really appreciate that, with all of this horrible news about losing people, about losing jobs, just being disconnected from people. There's a lot of awful news out there, and I feel incredibly grateful that I, have been protected against some of that. I feel, very appreciative that I have a job. And so I think grounding myself in that appreciation has been really helpful to kind of mitigate that anxiety that I feel.
I love that, Ellen. That really speaks to me. And we, I have found that my mantra has been 10 minutes at a time. That's all I can manage.
That's even better than one day.
Exactly. And I've given that as like a little stick-it note tool to colleagues and to friends and to family members, to kind of just say, hey, it's taken me all these years to learn how to do that. It was not easy for me to be in that moment, but I see that kind of brightness around this opportunity that you describe, and that really speaks to me. And again, things are happening around us and outside of us. But it is so important to be grounded like that. I love the idea of journaling even not that it's like a task of, oh God, I don't have time to do 90 minutes of journaling, but even just a thought or, I find this time very creative for me. So I've been doing a lot of that, just even a statement or two. And it almost makes me start to daydream. And then I stop doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which is great. No one's here to tell me what to do. So it's been kind of a flight of ideas at times, but that really speaks to me, that gratitude, and that we can control those few minutes in our grasp right now. I love that. I love that. I have been lucky enough not to have lost anyone at this point in time around my local close-knit family, whatever. But I have to say, and Shamera, I didn't share this with you, but I was at a national board meeting in New York City in December for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I sit on their national board, and it's 20 brilliant research minds that have been researching suicide and things of that nature for their majority of their careers. The board is filled with individuals like that. I, however, am not that brilliant mind, but bring a different task to the board. But I was sitting next to a researcher by the name of Andrew Slaby, and just a beautifully dressed senior gentleman, just lovely. And I just found out a week ago that he had passed away from COVID. And it kind of shook me a little bit. Again, as protected as I am, working from home and no longer working clinically on the front lines. And it just shook me how gentle he was and lovely, and all of the work he had done over the years specific to suicide prevention, his research, and that he passed away from this horrible virus. And it just shook me for a moment, and it really kind of made me misstep a little bit. It was sad. I didn't know him very well, but again, real people are struggling with the illness and dying from the illness. And that's we can't lose sight of that. But I do think that for our own wellness, we need to stay in the moment and stay safe and do what works for us. Whether it's a game of Yahtzee or backgammon or mowing the lawn or whatever. We need to take care of what's ours and in our grasp, I guess.
And I think we're going to start to see a lot of new anxieties with the reopening of the states and the dining and the malls. And, that brings some new anxieties for people who are still so concerned about the virus and bringing it home to their parents or sharing it with someone else. So it is important to continue, not just in May for Mental Health Awareness Month, but as we are maneuvering through this world in general, and this new world right now, that's just that connection, just reaching out, having a conversation with somebody, sending them a postcard, sending them a quick email, a little post on their Facebook page, just little moments, can mean so much right now. And then of course, supporting your students and your own children as well.
Yeah.
I think this has really revealed to folks who, maybe don't work in the fields as we do, just the importance of those quick daily check-ins and how, we really can't get anything else done if our mental health is not intact. If we're not taking care of our brains and our bodies, then, we're not going to be productive members of society. And so I think this has caused people to pause. And my hope is that, we've all developed better habits for our mental well-being and have kind of learned some of the things. I think it's been a cool time of self-awareness for a lot of people because we've been forced to look inward, and maybe that's what we needed as a society, to just pause a little bit and turn inward and discover some things about ourselves. And sometimes that comes with, discovering some negative things or some frustrating or scary things about ourselves. And it's really helpful to know that there are supports out there, for folks who, as they are kind of doing that, the inward journey, that there are plenty of resources out there to help them even amidst, COVID-19. Sure. And you've spoken about a lot of those as well. So. That's good. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up today? This has been really lovely. I feel like you're also checking up on my own mental health.
Well, we've had a lot of fun. We appreciate the opportunity to share the amazing resources that AFSP has to offer. We do have a chapter here in New Hampshire. Lisa and I are always available for anything, any additional questions, support, programming, a game of charades online. We're here, and we have had a lot of fun with you this month. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And we'll look forward to doing some more stuff with you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys taking the time and explaining AFSP to those who had never heard of it before, just sharing lots of other resources. So those of you who, if you're tuning in, I just want to remind you that AFSP has joined us all month. So they have 4 other sessions, afternoon bell sessions with us that we totally encourage you to check out if you're looking at looking for different resources. There are lots of them out there. And you also are in collaboration with so many other suicide prevention and mental health organizations. And so I think about it as this big tree with a lot of roots. And so I appreciate you guys being part of that tree. And supporting mental health.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you to those of you tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow morning for our morning coffee chat on Facebook Live at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. tomorrow on YouTube for another afternoon bell session. For a list of all of our upcoming live streams, we encourage you to subscribe to our newsletter, which is, you can find it at nhstudentwellness.org/contact, or you can follow us on all of our social media channels for lots of different notifications and pop-ups as we go live every day. Thanks again. And